Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to study the comparisons between the maxillary first premolar and maxillary second premolar. The maxillary second premolar crown is smaller in all dimensions than that of the first premolar. This is your first premolar. This is maxillary second premolar. The maxillary second premolar has a more rounded crown form. You can see the line angles, mesio-buccal line angle, the distobuccal line angle, mesiolingual line angle, and distolingual line angle are rounded, whereas in maxillary first premolar you can see more angular tooth. In maxillary second premolar, the buccal cusp and the lingual cusp are equal in height, whereas in this maxillary first premolar you can see that this lingual cusp is 1 mm shorter than this buccal cusp, which is higher. There is no mesial marginal groove or no mesial concavity on the crown of the second premolar. On the crown of the first premolar, in the cervical third area, there is a mesial concavity on the mesial aspect, and also there is a mesial marginal groove which indents the mesial marginal ridge. The maxillary second premolar has got two roots. On the buccal side there is a buccal root, on the palate side there is a palatal root, whereas the maxillary second premolar is normally a single rooted tooth. The buccal aspect is similar to that of the maxillary first premolar. The buccal surface is pentagonal in shape. This one is also pentagonal in shape. Cervical line is tapered towards the root apex. Here the cervical line is also tapered towards the root apex. There is a single buccal cusp and a buccal ridge. Here there is also a buccal cusp and a buccal ridge. The differences from the first premolar are that this buccal cusp is not as much pointed or as long as the buccal cusp of the first premolar. So in first premolar, this is the first premolar, the buccal cusp is very much long or pointed, whereas in this second premolar, this is buccal surface, this buccal cusp is not very much pointed. The cusp tip, this cusp tip is offset towards the mesial because the mesio-occlusal slope is shorter than the disto-occlusal slope. The disto-occlusal slope is longer. The mesio-occlusal and disto-occlusal line angles are not as prominent, and the mesial outline is usually straight and not so concave. Here the mesial outline is concave from the contact area to the cervical line. Here there is concavity, whereas in maxillary second premolar there is no concavity and the mesial outline is very flat or straight. The maxillary second premolar lingual surface is similar to that of the lingual surface of the maxillary first premolar, with some exceptions. This lingual cusp is relatively longer than that of, so this lingual cusp is relatively longer, whereas in maxillary first premolar you can see that the lingual cusp is 1 mm shorter than the buccal cusp. So in the buccal cusp tip is visible, and on maxillary second premolar less of the occlusal surface is visible. You can see here that this cusp is longer, so less of the occlusal surface is visible from this aspect, and as this cusp tip is 1 mm shorter than the buccal cusp tip, so more of the occlusal surface can be visible from the lingual aspect. Also in maxillary first premolar, the lingual cusp, the mesio-occlusal slope and mesio-occlusal slope is shorter and disto-occlusal slope is longer, so the cusp tip is offset mesially. So in this case, this is the disto-occlusal slope. It will be longer and mesio-occlusal slope will be shorter. So this disto-occlusal longer disto-occlusal slope will cause the lingual cusp tip to offset mesially, and this will be opposite of the buccal cusp, which will be offset distally due to longer mesio-occlusal slope. In the maxillary second premolar, the lingual cusp is not so far offset mesially. The mesial aspect is similar to that of the mesial aspect of maxillary second premolar, with some exceptions, which are that the cusp heights are equal in the maxillary second premolar. You can see that this buccal cusp and lingual cusp are almost of the equal height, whereas in the maxillary second premolar on the mesial surface, you can see that this buccal cusp is longer, and this lingual cusp is 1 mm shorter than the buccal cusp. You can see in the maxillary first premolar here there is a, in the cervical third there is a mesial concavity and the mesial marginal groove indenting the mesial marginal. Uh, there is a mesial marginal groove indenting the mesial marginal ridge, and there is a mesial concavity, whereas in maxillary second premolar there is no mesial concavity and no mesial marginal groove indenting the mesial marginal ridge. The contact area is located at a more cervical layer as compared to the contact area of the maxillary first premolar. The marginal ridge is also slightly more cervically located. The contact area is at the junction of the occlusal and middle third, but in this tooth it is slightly more cervically or more upwards, where marginal is also more cervically located or upper located. The distal aspect is similar to the distal aspect of the second premolar, with the following exceptions. Here, there is disparity in length between the buccal and lingual cusps. The lingual cusp is shorter, whereas the buccal cusp is higher. Here, there is the buccal and lingual cusp are almost equal in height. The distal contact area, and the distal margin ridge are located more cervically on the distal aspect of the maxillary second premolar as compared to the distal margin ridge and the contact area of the maxillary first premolar. The occlusal surface of the maxillary first premolar is hexagonal or six-sided. This is the buccal cusp, this is the lingual cusp, these are the marginal ridges, this is the mesial marginal ridge, this is the distal marginal ridge, this is buccal ridge, this is lingual ridge, this is mesial cusp ridge, this is distal cusp ridge, this is a transverse ridge, this is medial cusp ridge of the lingual cusp, distal cusp ridge of the lingual cusp, lingual cusp ridge of the lingual cusp, and buccal cusp ridge of the lingual cusp. This is mesiobuccal triangular groove, mesiolingual triangular, mesial marginal groove, and central groove. This is distobuccal triangular groove, distolingual triangular groove, and central groove. This is mesial triangle fossa, and this is the distal triangle fossa. The occlusal table is a little rounded, and the hexagonal appearance cannot be appreciated in this case. The line angles are more rounded. There are more supplemental grooves here, so it makes the wrinkled appearance. The central groove is shorter. The mesial and distal pits are more closely located. There is no mesial marginal groove, it is usually absent. The lingual cusp tip is not so far offset mesially. The remaining anatomical features are same as that of the maxillary first premolar. This is the buccal cusp, this is lingual cusp. Each buccal cusp has 4 cusp ridges: buccal cusp ridge, lingual cusp ridge, medial cusp ridge, distal cusp ridge. These are the marginal ridges, medial marginal ridge, distal marginal ridge, the transverse ridge, the medial cusp ridge of the lingual cusp, distal cusp ridge, lingual cusp ridge, and buccal cusp ridge or triangular ridge. These two meet in the midline to form a transverse ridge. This is the medial triangular fossa, this is the distal triangular fossa. Medial buccal triangular groove, mesolingual triangular groove, and central groove. This is buccal triangular groove, distal lingual triangular groove, and central groove. There is a single root in the maxillary first premolar, whereas in the maxillary second premolar there are two roots. Bifurcated form is most common, the buccal root and the palatal root. The apex of the root is usually blunt, whereas in the maxillary first premolar the apices are usually sharp. This is the root trunk, that area of the root which is present in the cervical line to the point of the bifurcation. This is root trunk. So this was all about the differences between the maxillary first and maxillary second premolar.